Alright, so what is the difference between radicals and particles as far as Japanese goes? Well, it's actually a really good question. Radicals, if I remember correctly, are the ones that actually help with the kanji. They basically identify like what kind of kanji it's going to be and what kind of word direction it's going in. And basically particles are just there to help like distinguish when where in the sentence grammar you can identify everything as it is. Like there's certain words that it helps out with, but it also identifies like the sentence structure with like where the adjective, the subject, and the verbs go. You can basically tell like what it's going to be just by looking at it. So it's like a pinpointer for grammar, kind of like periods, exclamation points, parentheses, question marks, basically stuff like that. Quotation marks. It's basically it's just there to identify things. That's basically what radicals and particles really do. Is just they just basically help with the grammar. They're they're there to organize the the flow of words rather, so that way it's easier to identify everything. And what you can do to identify them is they usually go near the end of every. They usually they're not like hiragana and katakana letters for the most part. You can tell what radicals and particles are because they're like their own group, and they can represent like certain words like of and the and like for example like you'll see a lot like you'll see like this for example. It's kind of like it starts out like this and it just kind of curves like an opening, and that's usually like the particle for it's either the radical or particle for of. It means no. Like I'll give you an example. Like in the title of like Fire Emblem Fui no Tsurugi, it translates to the binding blade of the Sword of Seals. Probably the Sword of Seals would be a more accurate one for the Game Boy Advance. So the particle like this, yeah, it's probably a particle if I remember correctly, and it does that, and it represents the word of, and there's a lot of other ways to look at it, but again, it really just depends the way it's being used. So like as far as radicals and particles go, you want to like really identify each and every one of them, and you should be able to get a clear understanding of like kind of like what you're looking at and where it goes to. Basically, I would say radicals and particles are, they're a lot. It's kind of like, rather than learning the letters and words of like again because that's hiragana, katakana, and kanji, but like once you get to radicals and particles, they're just there for like the grammar substitution, and then you have the like furigana and kata and ramaji is basically just another way of writing the words out, you know. So that's really what you have. You got the basic letters that you use. You have an alteration of writing them, and then you have like a set for the grammar. And that's usually like how you can learn Japanese like very easily is once you understand like what you're looking at to what it becomes. So again, once you understand like how to organize this stuff, it makes it a lot easier to really be able to represent what the language itself means. So hopefully this kind of clarifies it just a little bit better.